Hello my lovelies, and welcome back to another video. Today I'll be filming a wonderful Hatha practice focused around the hips, doing some wonderful hip openers today, working the legs, and generally getting a wonderful stretch. The only props that you'll need today are 2 blocks or books, cans of soup, something to help prop you up. So a really narrow book is not something I would recommend. Maybe a textbook that you have sitting around. And then the only other thing is a strap that can go all the way around the arch of your foot and have your hands such that the elbows are hugged in towards the side body. So something that could go around that length. If a belt isn't long enough, you can always use the pant leg of a pair of pants. And when you're ready, go ahead and join me. I would suggest having your 2 block props on the left-hand side of your space. We'll use that in a little bit. I'll move mine out of the way just so that you can see me a little bit, but have yours set up kind of like this, and we'll go ahead and get started for today. Taking a few moments to settle into your space. Find a comfortable seated posture. As always, a blanket or pillow underneath the hips is welcome in this pose. Starting to take some big breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. Working to eventually breathe in and out through the nose, but take your time. Enjoy the journey. Starting to check in with the body, check in with your mind, check in with your space. At any point you feel any sort of pinching, pain, tingling, tightness, something unusual for a stretch, perhaps take the time to find a different variation, modification, or maybe even come out of the flow completely. I am here to help guide you. I'm not here to try to force you into anything that would feel uncomfortable. So please listen to your body. It has a wonderful way of telling us what it needs. And ultimately, it's about how a stretch feels, not how the pose looks. Alright, fluttering the eyes open when you're ready. Wiggling through fingers, wiggling through toes. Let's get some movement in the body. I like to start by taking some big circles with the chest, starting to warm up through the spine, through the upper body. Let the head fall as it feels good to you. Inviting any additional organic movement that calls to you. As we start to get some big circles in the chest, we can start to warm up through the hips already, getting some big circles, imagining that your upper body and lower body are kind of like a mortar and pestle, and you're kind of grinding through any little knots that may be present in the hips. Ooh, if you find a particular spot, feel free to stay where you are for just a moment, enjoying the stretch. Yeah, that side's a little tight for me personally. And One other thing you can try doing is switching the legs and see how that might change the stretch. I noticed that whatever leg I have in front tends to get a little bit deeper stretch, but everyone's body is going to be a little bit different, and how we feel a stretch may be a little bit different. Let your circles be as big or as small as feels comfortable to you. Enjoying some initial movement in this flow. Wonderful. When you're ready, coming back to stillness. Allowing the left hand to come onto the ground as we inhale, right hand up high. And exhale, allow the left hand to reach along the floor as we find a big side stretch with a supported bottom arm. Trying to pull up through the top rib cage, gaze and chest can be open up wide towards the front of your space. And top arm is away from the ear. Big inhale, come up towards center. Exhale, release the top hand. Inhale, left hand high. Allow the right hand to reach down towards the ground as we find a big stretch over to the side body. Noticing how one side may feel very different than the other. With an inhale, come back up towards center. Roll shoulders up and away from the ears. Ooh, let's do that 2 more times. Wonderful. And enjoy the journey as you meet me in a tabletop position. Starting to settle in here, hands stack roughly underneath shoulders, big and wide like starfish. Knees stack underneath the hips, and with an inhale, drop the hips, shine the chest forward. Exhale. Round through the back, round through the chest. Bring chin to chest. Find your cat posture. Inhale. Drop the hips, shine the chest forward. Gaze can come up towards the top of your space. Find your cow. Moving between these 2 postures as it feels good to you. And when you're ready, coming back to a neutral spine. From here, we'll take some big circles in the hips so that the circles are parallel to the floor. So it'll be these big, wide circles from side to side with the hips. You can almost go back into a child's pose at the bottom of your circle and almost come to the ground on the side. Swing the hips along and keep your circle going. I really enjoy this. I think this gets a nice big opening in the hips. Likes to say hello, especially on the side of the circles. I feel it come up into the side of my hip, but everyone's going to be a little different If this doesn't call to you and cat-cow felt better, or additional, or a different variation felt better to you, feel free to take it now. When you're ready, move back in towards center. Readjust as you need. Enjoy the journey and meet me in a down dog. A little bit different for our down dog today. Try having the hands come as wide as your space. Feet come as wide as your space. See how this feels, a little bit different. Bending into the knees, looking forward, and hop or walk your way towards a forward fold. From here, find an inhale, halfway lift. Straighten through the spine before straightening through the legs. Exhale, bend through the knees, round through the back. Let the belly melt onto the thighs. Inhale, halfway lift. Straighten through spine, straighten through legs. Exhale, bend into the knees, round through the back. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, release. Wonderful. From here, ground down through the hands. Send the left foot back behind you. Finding this high lunge posture. Taking a moment to adjust in this space and then pivot on the back foot so that it comes parallel with the top of what would be a mat if you're choosing to use so. Setting up for warrior two posture in the legs. With a big inhale in, cartwheel up. Warrior two posture in the legs, opening up the hips towards the side of the space. Roll shoulders up and away from the ears, arms out to a T. And with an inhale, leaning back, top hand, or front hand, now it goes the top hand as you reach back. Finding revolved warrior. With an exhale, down towards center. Inhale, straighten through the front leg. Tick the hips back towards the back of our space as we reach forward. Exhale, release down. Now front hand can come to rest on the shin as we find triangle pose. Option for a half bound triangle as we bring the top hand now to the small of the back. Gaze can be up towards the sky, straight forward, or down towards the foot, whatever feels best in the neck, ensuring that we are not locking out any of our knees. So slight little micro bend, really engage into the feet. Try pressing down through all four corners, especially that back pinky edge of our back foot. From here, bend into the front knee. Release front elbow to front knee as we set up for an extended side angle on this side. Now our left hand can reach up and over, finding this nice long line all the way from pinky side of the foot up through the hip, shoulders, and top arm. Option to lower the bottom arm or right hand if it feels comfortable to you, or remain where you are. One more big breath here. With an inhale, coming up towards center, straightening through the front leg, and pivot on the front foot, setting up for a wide straddle towards the left side of our space. If your block props aren't already on this side of the mat, go ahead and move them there. Starting to find some activation here, really pushing down through the pinky edges of both feet, pulling up towards the hips with the thighs, engaging the belly button in towards the spine. Roll shoulders up and away from the ears. Big inhale in as we reach hands up high. Exhale, cactus the arms. Hands can come to rest at the hips. Find length in the spine and hinge forward from the hips as we find a forward fold expression. Bringing hands down onto our block props. And here is a fun little variation that I've come up with. Feel free to take a moment to look at me as I explain this variation. From here, slowly walking the block props out long, so arms are going to stay roughly shoulder width distance apart. You can adjust the height as you need, but you can start to get a stretch in the upper body as well as the lower body. If blocks or soup cans are too low and don't feel comfortable for you to get your arms and back fully extended, you can also use a chair or a wall that may be nearby. And you would just face the wall, you place your hands on the wall, legs out in a straddle, and slowly walk yourself down either a chair or a wall. But from here, you have the arms out long and have the low back nice and flat. Have a nice long straight spine, keeping the head in line with the spine, avoiding dropping it in this pose. And having the arms out long, I find it's a wonderful stretch in the upper body as well as a beautiful stretch in the hips. We'll be here for a few breaths. Feel free to play with this and play with adjustment. Really being sure that we don't rock back on the heels in this posture. There is a tendency to send the hips back past the ankles. Instead, make sure that we're also distributing the weight into the ball of our foot as well as the toes, and really grinding into the pinky edges of the foot to maintain some wonderful engagement. Two more big breaths here. And when you're ready, walking the hands in and finding a halfway lift wherever you are, whether blocks are in front of you, hands on the ground, yogi's choice, as long as we're keeping a nice straight spine. Allowing the right hand to come down to one of the blocks. Inhale, left hand up high. Find a beautiful side stretch or side twist. And exhale, come down towards center. Left hand comes down. Inhale, right hand up high. Exhale, down towards center. Wonderful. From here, I'm going to walk the feet in just a little bit and have the toes turned out to a 45-degree angle. So they're going to be pointing towards these kind of top corners of my mat now. If you're not using a mat, that 45 degrees may be helpful for you. From here, gently releasing my block props over towards the right hand side of my space. As I slowly walk my hands and start to bend into the right leg, finding a nice side stretch on this side, extending my left leg out long. I can use blocks to help prop me up. I can also use blocks under the knees. There's a lot of different things you can do here. Feel free to play around. If having the right foot fully on the ground doesn't feel comfortable, some people find coming up onto the toes a little bit easier with hands grounded or hands on blocks. Yogi's choice on the foot placement, but we're just trying to keep the foot roughly underneath the hip. And the extended leg, working to have the toes and knees pointed up towards the ceiling, and nice long straight line. Once again, avoid locking out your knee here. There is a tendency with a straightened leg to lock it out. Take 2 more big breaths in this space. And when you're ready, ground down either into blocks or the floor as we stand the hips up high, coming in through center, and then walking ourselves over towards the left side of our space, bending in to the left foot, pivoting on the right, toes and knees up towards the ceiling. Once again, option for kind of a flat foot, so long as our knee kind of stays over the foot instead of collapsing inwards. And then there's always the option to come up onto the toes. I personally enjoy that a little bit more in this space. Take a moment. Take 3 big loving breaths in. And exhale love. Staying here for just a tiny bit longer as we even out on both sides. But once again, if when you're ready, coming back up towards center. Releasing the block props. Make sure both feet are roughly at a 45-degree angle as we bend into the knees. Allow them to roughly track over the toes as we inhale up high. Find a goddess pose for just a moment. And then reach up, 5-pointed star. Back foot is going to come parallel with what was the top of our space. And front foot now will become parallel with the long edge of our space. I'm going to move block props out of the way just so we can see me a little bit better. Bending into the front knee and setting up for warrior 2 on this side. From here, inhale, reaching up and back, find your evolved warrior. Grounding down through the pinky edge of the back foot and grinding into the toes and heels. The front leg, nice strong bend in the front knee. Inhale, come up towards center, straighten through the front leg. Take the hips towards the back of the space as you reach forward. Exhale, hand down on to the shin or thigh or floor, yogi's choice. Top hand will reach high towards the sky for just a moment. Gaze can be wherever feels best to you. A little micro bend in both knees, and then option to find a little half bind We reach the top hand towards the small of the back, eventually working towards the bottom hip. So you can see maybe my fingers peeking down there. It's where we're eventually working towards. Hand on the top hip, hand on the small of the back, or lower hip is always an option for this half bind. One more big loving breath here. And on your exhale, bend into the front knee, bring front elbow to front knee as we reach our top hand up high in this nice long line from the back toes all the way through the tips of my fingers. Find your extended side angle. Option to lower the bottom hand or remain as you are. Take 2 more loving breaths here. And when you're ready, release the top hand down towards the mat as we pivot on the back foot. Find your high lunge, ground down through the hands, send the front foot to meet the back, high plank. Option for chaturanga to up dog, or send the hips up high and find your down dog. If stationary feels good to you, remain there. Pedaling out through the heels feels good. Feel free to take that variation, or lift through one leg, open up the hip towards the side wall. Back to center. Lift the opposite leg, open up the hips. And come back in towards center. Bend into both knees and release them all the way down to the mat. Find your tabletop posture as we send the hips back towards the heels. Child's devotion pose. Take in a big breath of support and exhale. Surrender into your space. Surrender into your body. And when you're ready, picking your way up, sitting up on the heels for just a brief moment as we send the hips over to one side, sweep the feet in front of us. Having the legs out kind of long with a little bend in the knee, so we'll find one of my favorite playful transitions. We'll find little windshield wipers motions in the legs as we slowly scooch the hips towards the heels till we can't scooch no more. Once you get there, either grabbing onto the backs of thighs or palms up towards the ceiling as we lower all the way down onto the belly. Wonderful. From here, grabbing our strap or pair of pants as we loop the strap over one leg and extend the leg up high. Option to keep the opposite leg bent or extended, yogi's choice. As we find some quick little point and flex motions with the foot, maybe some little circles, ensuring that we're not pulling too hard on the strap. This should be pretty loose. In fact, my strap isn't doing anything at the moment. I have my elbows kind of hugged in towards side body, but most importantly, I have them grounded into the floor. And one side of the strap in each hand. Wonderful. When you're ready, taking the strap in both sides of the strap into the opposite side hand, and from here, allowing the leg to fall across body. Once again, option to have the bottom leg bent or extended. So we find a side twist in the spine with an extended leg supported with the strap. From here, we can get maybe a little bit deeper stretch, playing with either pointing or flexing the foot. And always an option to drop the strap and bend the extended leg if a straight leg doesn't feel comfortable to you. Working to remain grounded through the shoulders, gaze can be wherever feels most comfortable. An opposite hand can fall maybe on the belly or in cactus, yogi's choice. Take one more loving breath here before returning up towards the center, being mindful of any curtains that may be in the way as we gently release the foot, or release the strap from the foot, bending into our knee. Allow the leg to go long or bend as we set up on the opposite side. Once again, have my elbows kind of grounded into the earth. I have my foot pointing, flexing, finding little circles, enjoying some movement in the ankle, and my strap is loose and not pulling on my foot as I work into my ankle. Take 2 more loving breaths here. And when you're ready, engaging the strap into opposite hand and pulling the extended leg towards the face just a little bit, having a nice straight leg, but a little micro bend in the knee. Important that we don't lock out the leg as we slowly allow the extended leg to fall towards the opposite side of our space. Once again, option for a straightened or bent opposite leg. Grounding down through the shoulders. From here, keeping a little tension in the strap. I like to kind of have my hand that has the strap come into a little bit of a cactus motion. So we find a nice deep stretch in the side hip here. us in this space. Your inhales, bringing in support. Your exhales, surrendering into the pose. Back up towards the center, bending into our extended leg, releasing the strap. Taking any last postures you may need before finding your final Shavasana. For today, I offer the variation of having butterfly legs in the legs, and one hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. If you have your block props nearby, they can be placed underneath the knees if having the knees floating doesn't feel comfortable to you. But if any other variation calls to you today, feel free to take it at this time. We enjoy having no other responsibilities, to simply be present, allowing the mind to wander, or allowing yourself to focus inward on the breath, enjoying the sensation of the inhale and the release of the exhale. Full body stretch, gently rolling over onto the right side. Take one last breath of support in this space. When you're ready, lead in me in a gentle seated posture, eyes opened or closed when you get there. Hands will come together, thumbs will come in between the eyebrows. Taking a moment to set the gentle intention of kind thoughts for yourself and others. Thumbs come to the lips to set the gentle intention of kind words for yourself and others. And finally, hands come to the heart space to set the gentle intention of kind actions for yourself and others. I thank you all so much for joining me today. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!